WGNY Newburgh, WJGK HD2 Newburgh Middletown, WGNY 1220 94.5, News Talk Sports.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to a Sunday edition of Jake's Hot Takes. I am your host, Jake McVey, as always, and, wow. I don't think anybody was expecting what the Pacers managed to pull off against the Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. This was a game where by the beginning of the fourth quarter, right around the middle of the fourth quarter, I had already kind of resigned myself. I was a little bit checked out. I was like, yeah, it looks like the Thunder got this one. And then all of a sudden, the Pacers come storming back. And, of course, the game-winning shot by Tyrese Halliburton. How does he keep getting away with this? How do teams keep letting him get away with this? This makes a game winner in each of the playoff series that the Pacers have played against Milwaukee, Cleveland, New York, and now Oklahoma City for Tyrese Halliburton. Absurd. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of it, because this was actually a pretty interesting game from a statistics standpoint, and there are a couple things that I want to highlight that kind of paint a very strange picture. Definitely not what I was anticipating out of either of these teams. But let's get into the weeds of it. So the Pacers defeat the Thunder in Game 1 of the NBA Finals with a final score of 111 to 110, with the Pacers shooting very well, like incredibly well. The Pacers shot 47.6% from the field and 46.2% from three. So they had an incredibly efficient night. They were putting the ball in the basket. You might be asking yourself, Jake, if the Pacers didn't shoot, or if the Pacers shot significantly better than the Thunder shot 39% from the field, 36% from three, how are they down for so long? Did the Thunder just, what happened? Did the Thunder, what happened? I can't even make up there's only one answer. It was the turnovers. That is how the Thunder managed to extend their lead. In the first half of this game, the Pacers were absolutely diabolical with the turnovers. But I'm going to get into that a little bit later, as well as Pacers were incredibly good with their rebounding. 56 rebounds to 39 rebounds for the Pacers. By the way, 25 turnovers to 7 turnovers for the Pacers. Definitely a night of extremes. They were very extreme on the rebounding side of things, very extreme on the turnover side of things, and very extreme on the efficiency side of things. Some standout guys just off the dome, of course, Tyrese Halliburton. Thunder fans will consider it a victory to hold Halliburton to 14 points, but, 3 of those points came in the most important shot in the game. So, Halliburton had himself a game, finishing the night with 14 points on 6 of 13 shooting, 2 for 7 from 3, as well as 10 rebounds and 6 assists. Surprising amount of rebounds out of Halliburton. He was doing a pretty good job at positioning himself. As well as Andrew Nembhard, I misread that. I'm sorry. Obi Toppin, who went 5 for 8 on 3-point shots. Was not expecting Obi Toppin to be the guy to really bring out a lot of 3-point shooting from this team, but hey, that's just how it goes. He finished the night 6 for 9 from the field and 5 for 8 from 3. Andrew Nembhard had an incredibly poor performance, low efficiency, 14 points. 4 for 11 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3. He was quiet, especially when the Pacers really needed him most, I would say. He definitely kind of disappeared in that sense. Pascal Siakam had a pretty good game, pretty much an average Siakam performance, 19 points, 7 for 15 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3. With 10 rebounds to boot. I mean, the main guys that were doing a lot of the rebounding for the Pacers were not really the guys that I was expecting. I guess aside from Siakam, his taller and lankier build, but, Miles Turner only had, I guess Miles Turner had 9 rebounds. Whoops, stat sheets are hard to read. I was looking at the wrong list there. No, so Turner ended up getting 9 rebounds as well, which is weird because I feel like I didn't see him getting a lot of rebounds in the game. I honestly thought that number was lower, but it was a good, gritty performance out of the Pacers. But on the Thunder side of things, the top performers for the Thunder, of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander dropping almost 40 points in an incredibly heartbreaking fashion. Shai finishes the night 38 points on 14 for 30 shooting and 3 for 6 from the field. And just some change in everything else. Shai did a great job getting to the mid-range and playing the game how he felt comfortable. And I think, as a testament to Shai's scoring ability, the Pacers did a phenomenal job of not letting him get to the line that often. Shai only finished the night with 8 free throws taken and 7 made. So, it's kind of a compliment to both teams where the Pacers did an excellent job of not allowing Shai to get to the line a lot, even when he was driving a lot. And Shai did a phenomenal job still managing to put up an incredibly efficient scoring night despite that. So all in all, it was a really good performance out of Shai, and I'm sure it's an absolute heartbreaker, coming off of this one for Shai. That being said, my underperformer of game one was absolutely Chet Holmgren. He finishes the day with 6 points and 6 rebounds, and not much else. I believe he had a block, but he just was incredibly quiet on significantly less minutes than I was expecting to. He only ended up playing 24 minutes, and in those 24 minutes, he did not really show a whole lot offensively on that front. Defensively, he was around and he was definitely present. And, a guy like Holmgren, he doesn't necessarily need to be the best on-ball defender in order to get some use out of him. But, the off-ball defensive role is very hard to gauge because, it's not necessarily something that you're always looking at, not always something you're necessarily focused on. So while I'll say that Chet had a decent game in the off-ball defense role, the point of being an off-ball defender like that is to not have people notice you. You want to try and it's almost like being a defensive back in the NFL. If you hear your cornerback's name being talked about less in the game, that's actually a good thing because it means that the guy that he's guarding isn't even getting looks. So Chet did a really good job of establishing the space. But on the reduced minutes, it just wasn't, and I don't think it was the performance that Oklahoma City necessarily wanted from him. I'll say that because there are some guys who, getting 24 minutes in the playoffs and in the finals, I should say, and putting up a stat line like that. There are some guys where you just can't complain, I would say Mitchell Robinson is a guy like that where he can put up, 24 minutes, 6 points, 6 rebounds, and make an impact defensively. And that is a perfectly fine performance out of him. But I feel like the Thunder expect more out of Chet. I feel like he is the primary big man for this team. So it was definitely a disappointing game to see out of him. I think I hold Chet in a bit of a higher regard than I do Mitchell Robinson, which might be a mistake on my part, but that's life. That's basketball. Lu Dort and Alex Caruso, a dynamic duo. They had a phenomenal defensive game. They were causing turnovers left and right, just picking the pockets of whoever. And I really liked what I saw out of both of those guys. They played really tough. I say both of them, their names in the same breath, just because, they both kind of, they had good offensive performances, but, nothing crazy. Except for the fact that Lu Dort hit 5 threes. Lu Dort had himself a game, ladies and gentlemen. Lu Dort finishes the day with 15 points on 5 of 10 from the field and 5 of 9 from 3. He only took one shot the entire game that wasn't a three-pointer, and he missed that one shot. He made 5, like I said, he made 5 threes, and he was instrumental in this kind of front running that we saw out of the Pacers early in the game. I mean, the Pacers were absolutely running away with this game at one point. Early in the game, they got themselves up to a sizable lead, and then they just kind of continued to maintain that pace of just slowly building and building and building until eventually they get up to that 15-point lead, and you think they're going to come away with it, and then all of a sudden it completely falls apart from there. And a lot of the guys that I think they needed performances from kind of disappeared in that fourth quarter. One guy that I was pretty impressed with off of Oklahoma City as well, Jalen Williams had himself a pretty good game. He finishes the day with 17 points on 6 of 19 shooting and 1 for 4 from 3. Jalen Williams has never really been the guy that I anticipate to put on a high-scoring performance like that. Well, decently. It's a high-scoring performance for Jalen Williams. And I liked the pace that he was keeping throughout the game. He seemed to bring a lot of good energy to the team. And even though he only hit 1 3, it was a pretty nice shot. It was a good 3-point shot. And he was just kind of a necessary aspect. Cason Wallace was a guy who kind of disappointed me on a lot of fronts. He was actually my pick for sneaky impact player of the game, which was a segment that I wanted to do last week before game 1, but unfortunately I didn't have the time. I got too caught up in talking about the nitty-gritty of the Pacers, and I didn't actually have time to mention it. So maybe I'm glad that I didn't put that take out on the air, because Cason Wallace absolutely disappointed me. He finishes the night on 6 points, 3 of 9 from the field, and 0 for 3 from 3, and a negative 13 on the plus minus. So, sometimes you see a low scoring performance like that. You're like, oh, well, he contributed defensively, a la Andrew Nembhard, or, a guy like DeLon Wright, just for a Knicks example. I love bringing in the Knicks example. It's like jingling the keys in front of the viewers, but he just didn't. He wasn't moving his feet well. He wasn't getting his hands up. I thought because of Wallace's smaller stature, he'd be able to close distance on guys like Nesmith and Halliburton better, and that would lead to a slight defensive advantage, kind of like what we saw out of Shamet and DeLon Wright. Those guys, they played defense so well because they weren't getting kind of tangled in the movement of things, and they could close that distance quicker. And of course, there was always just that defensive hustle out of those guys, but that's just not what I saw out of Cason Wallace. So all in all, I would say a pretty disappointing performance out of Cason Wallace. It's strange to me that the Pacers managed to dominate the rebounding department so much. I mean, the rebounding department, you may as well make, the Pacers the new head of the chair of the rebounding department, because they, like I said, they out-rebounded the Thunder, I believe. Let me take a look at this. 56-39. And rebounding was a department where I was actually anticipating that Chet and Hartenstein would actually come up really big in it. But, the Pacers did a really good job of positioning themselves. Nesmith in particular, he is a very difficult player to move when he's, using his physicality in that sense. And I think that really was the main advantage for Nesmith, was that he not only did he have leverage on guys like Hartenstein and Holmgren, but he had the physicality to use that leverage and actually place themselves in the best position to receive the rebound. Siakam was a bit of an anomaly. He was moving out there, which is not something that you usually expect to see out of Siakam. And Halliburton, Halliburton just racks up stats, man. Halliburton will always be piling on the numbers on that front. But no, the rebounds were definitely a highlight for the Pacers. And Hartenstein himself finished the night with 9 rebounds. He was the leading rebounder for the Thunder, but when the Pacers' 4th highest rebounder has the same amount of rebounds as the Thunder's highest rebounder, that is a problem for the Thunder. And that is a physicality problem, and that is a positioning problem. And that is something that the Thunder absolutely need to work on. In the sense of the turnovers, I guess the Pacers can just get away with that. I guess the Pacers could just get away with turning over the ball, 25 times to the Thunder's 7, because, guys were stepping on the line. I believe Nesmith and Siakam both had plays where they stepped on the line. Obi Toppin had like a backcourt turnover. There were a few shot clock violations. And then not to mention, Caruso and Dort getting a couple steals to a piece themselves. Caruso finished the day with 3 steals, and Lu Dort finished the day with 4 steals. So, those guys were coming in there. Shea also had a sneaky defensive performance with 3 steals as well. The Pacers, it honestly kind of boggles my mind, because yes, they did get a lot of second chance opportunities with those rebounds, but such a discrepancy in turnovers with that gap in the score in the 4th quarter, and the Pacers still being able to come back, that just kind of baffles me. When we get back, we're going to be talking about what either team needs to do to secure a win in Game 2. This has been Jake's Hot Takes, and it will continue to be Jake's Hot Takes right here on WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Thinking about remodeling your kitchen or bath? Wayne's Way Wholesale Cabinets has a great selection of all wood cabinets in the styles and colors to make your remodeling dreams come to life. Go to wayneswaycabinets.com for more info. Wayne's Way Cabinets, 1829 South Road, Wappingers Falls. Call 845-280-0880. Stop by and talk to Wayne today. You'll be glad you did.
Your life relies on power all day, every day. With spring upon us, weather-related storms and power outages disrupt your home life, work life, and more. Don't be left in the dark. Call Essential Power Systems, your local Generac automatic standby power dealer, protecting your family, home, and business. Already have a Generac? Ask about maintenance, monitors, and cold weather kits before winter. Call Mike the Generator Guy for a free estimate at 845-227-0514. Online at EssentialPowersGenerators.com. Never be powerless. Get Generacted by Essential Power Systems.
Michael's Appliances presents Ask Andy, the appliance expert. Andy, what's the average amount of time for clothes to dry?
We've had customers call us up and they're timing their dryer drying one shirt, and they can't understand why it takes an hour and a half for that one shirt to dry. If you're using an auto dry cycle, the sensors are never being touched by that one article of clothing. So consequently, it takes forever for the dryer to realize that things are done. Today, newer dryers, generally speaking, it's an hour, 70, 80, 90 minutes. It's not because we're burning tons of fuel. It's because we're using much less. Much lower temperature in the dryer overall, longer tumbling action. That helps to prevent wrinkles, and people are used to a 20-minute cycle drying. Those days are over. You know, we used to make it very hot in the dryer and dry them very quickly. And of course, people have forgotten that then their clothes fit a Cabbage Patch doll when that happens.
Shop with the experts. Nobody knows appliances like Michael's Appliance Center, 585 East Main Street, Middletown. Online at michaelsappliance.com.
Your engine is a delicate instrument. But if you don't change the oil on a regular basis, things have a tendency to go wrong. That's why this news should be music to your ears. Because now at the Newburgh Auto Spa, you can get a free car wash with every oil change. That's right, a free car wash with every oil change.
Really?
Really. Stop into their state-of-the-art facility today and find out what quality maintenance is all about. We all need to get oil changes, so why not get a free car wash to go along with it? And while you're at it, take advantage of their 15-point vehicle inspection free of charge. That should leave you on a very happy note. Newburgh Auto Spa, located at 86 Route 17K in Newburgh. For more information, call 845-567-0009, 845-567-0009, or go online to newburghautospa.com. That's newburghautospa.com. Newburgh Auto Spa. Quick, convenient, clean.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome back to Jake's Hot Takes. Now, I feel like where we're at right now in this series, I know it's still very early, but the Pacers taking a 1-0 lead on the Thunder, it throws everything that I think I expected out of this series kind of out of whack. You know, I had initially predicted that the Thunder would win this series in 5, and that they would just be this dominant team. And that is what we saw in the first 3 quarters of game 1. But all of a sudden, Indiana makes this huge run and comes back, and it's just bizarre. So some of the things that I saw that I'll start with the Thunder because, I want to have a discussion about what I think either team needs to focus on, the kind of energy they need to bring, just what needs to be done to secure a win in game 2. First of all, the rebounding for Oklahoma City. You cannot be getting out-rebounded by Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam and Aaron Nesmith and Miles Turner to an extent. You cannot be getting out-rebounded by those guys. This Thunder team has prided itself on its ability to play physical and be physical, and you look at the rebounding numbers and it's like, where is that? This Thunder team, they had to play a very physical game to contend with teams like Minnesota and with Denver. And that kind of aggression that we saw that got them through those series against Minnesota and Denver was not on display in game 1. Maybe early in the game we saw some of that, but as the game progressed, it's like the Thunder petered out. They got it looked like not only was it a lack of positioning and physicality, it looked in some cases like a lack of effort on these guys. And you're in the NBA Finals and you're a professional basketball player. Rebounding should not come down to who's giving more effort. It should come down to positioning and really just positioning, honestly. But it should never come down to effort. You both should be playing as physical as you possibly can to get that rebound. So to see the Thunder come out kind of flat in that sense, definitely a little concerning. I also do think partially that it was a bit of a mobility issue for the Thunder. I mean, the Pacers are an incredibly fast team. Oftentimes you can see guys coming from kind of out of nowhere to get in on those rebounds. And, you know, it's not like the Oklahoma City Thunder don't have guys that are quick on their feet, but I think the guys that are required, that you require high rebounding output out of, like Chet, Lou Dort, and Hartenstein, I think those guys severely underperformed in that sense. Hartenstein did pretty good in the rebounding, but you know, it was still an underperformance, because if you're getting out rebounded by three guys on the Pacers and Miles Turner is the fourth highest rebounder and you're tying in rebounds with him, that is absolutely a problem. Something else that I'll say for the Thunder is you're here now. You can't treat this Pacers team like a joke. I know Thunder fans, the Thunder fans were incredibly confident going into this one, saying, oh, Shea's going to get his first chip. Oh, this, and we're finally going to get a chip. You're here now, man. You know what it's like. You just had a New York moment where you completely dropped game one at home. You just had a Cleveland moment where you completely dropped game one at home. This Thunder team needs to lock in. They need to play as well as they played against the Timberwolves and against the Nuggets, because they are not playing to that caliber right now. Like, it feels like a level of unseriousness, and this Thunder team has always been kind of unserious on that front. But is the NBA Finals really the time where we're going to start treating things like a joke? Like, seriously, man, it was frustrating. And ball movement is the other big thing for Oklahoma City that I saw that needed a lot of work, like a severe amount of work. Because OKC is usually pretty good at keeping the ball moving. You know, Shea is an all right passer. He's a pretty good passer. But the Thunder just did not seem to be interested in moving the ball as much. They seemed very interested in feeding Shea and feeding Dort, but they did not seem very interested in this kind of flowing offense that you can use to put guys out of position like that. Like the Thunder did not move the ball, I think, as much as they should, and as much as the Pacers tend to do. And that's why the Pacers are so dangerous offensively. It's because they don't waste time looking to score. They're either ready to score or they're passing the ball. You know, they're very rarely do you see the Pacers just kind of stand around or make these pushes on the perimeter with the ball. And that's something that we saw out of Oklahoma City. So I think that the Thunder need to kind of get back to their roots, you know? This Pacers team, they are intimidating to play against. I speak as somebody who watched their team play against this Pacers team when they look their best. They are absolutely an intimidating force, and you almost want your team to try and match the tone and the game speed that the Pacers are playing, because you don't want to feel like you're being outdone. But what's most important is that the Thunder play their style of basketball, and they play the way that they feel comfortable. This team has been great at moving the ball throughout the regular season and throughout the playoffs, and they've had great team chemistry, and they find the open man and they get it done. But that just wasn't the case. I mean, you look at the assist stats, and the Thunder finished the day with 13 assists, and the Pacers finished with 24. And that is, again, a discrepancy. Like, you see that 25 turnovers number out of the Pacers, and you think to yourself, how do you have that many turnovers and you still manage to win the game? That is how you still manage to win the game. The rebounding discrepancy is how you still manage to win the game. You can give the Thunder as many chances as they want, but if you are making quality moves and opportunities and capitalizing on every single mistake that the Thunder make and the Thunder aren't, you're going to win that game. So that was just, it's just shot selection was the last thing that I wanted to talk about, because the Thunder did have a less than efficient night, and I feel that there were some wasted possessions on blown shots. I think that is just an unfortunate reality, and it's something that you always wish that you can take back, but it's not something that you necessarily can take back. So moving on to Indiana now. Indiana's in a prime position right now. You got another game in OKC. That is not an easy environment to play in, but they've already silenced the Thunder crowd once. So what they need to do is they need to come out with the aggression that we saw in the fourth quarter at the start of the game. I know that the Pacers, you see those memes going around of like, oh, my team is up by 1 trillion points with 4 seconds left in the fourth, but I'm playing against the Pacers, so you never know. Playing from behind like that over and over again, as much as it has been sustainable for the Pacers, I don't know if it's going to be sustainable against this Thunder team, especially now that you've popped them in the mouth and they're probably coming into game 2 with a bit of a chip on their shoulder. So what the Pacers need to try and focus on doing is just not allowing them to get buried like that. Because, crawling your way out of a 6-foot hole every time you win a basketball game, there are much easier ways to win a championship. And I know that the Pacers are always interested in taking the path of most resistance, but they need to come out with the level of focus and the level of clarity and the level of lacking mistakes that they had in the third and fourth quarters, and not what they came out with in the first and second quarter, because that's really where a lot of the turnovers came anyway. I mean, they had like 6 turnovers of their 25 in the third and fourth quarter, which just really shows how sloppy they were playing early in the game. So they need to come out with that kind of level of clarity, that level of focus. Otherwise, because the Thunder very easily could have not blown this game. And I know that's very easy to say in a comeback victory like that. Oh, Knicks game 1. The Knicks could have just not blown that game. But the truth is, like, yeah, that is actually a legitimate strategy. I'm sure the Thunder would take that position they were put in the fourth quarter 9 times out of 10 with that 15-point advantage. And I'm sure the Pacers don't want that. Turnovers for the Pacers. They not only need to make sure that the pass that you're throwing is actually going to make it to the guy that you're passing to, you need to protect the ball against guys like Dort and Caruso. I think the Pacers came out a little bit unprepared for how dangerous Dort and the Bald Barbarian really are. And they kind of showed how, like, that is going to be an issue for them moving forward. Like I said, I believe Caruso finished the day with 4 steals. Dort finished the day with 3 steals. Like, they were getting pickpocketed a lot, and it led to a backcourt violation for Obi Toppin. There were so many situations where the Pacers, the Pacers were starting to walk back that big lead that the Thunder had, but guys like Caruso and Dort just continued to take the ball out of their hands. So protecting the rock is going to be very important, because like I said, if you put them, with 8 minutes left in the fourth down by 15, I'm sure the Thunder will take that positioning any day of the week. So you don't want to give them that opportunity again, because I guarantee you, if the Pacers are down late like that again, the Thunder are going to make sure they finish the job. They did better on turnovers in the second half, so who knows? Maybe they knew what I was going to say before they even said it, and they cleaned it up at halftime. But the other big thing that you need to do is capitalize on the Thunder's mistakes. This Thunder team, as talented as they are, as well constructed as they are still young. This is their first finals together as a core, and the Pacers have been making deep playoff runs for the last 3 years now. They are the experienced team. They are the older, more jaded, more experienced team in this dynamic. And stealing a game like that it's frustrating to lose. We've seen it firsthand as New York sports fans. And if the Pacers continue to punish the Thunder for every single mistake that they make, I believe that the Thunder will eventually start to crack. So that's what these teams need to be focusing on. When we get back, we're going to be talking some NFL news, some big stuff going on there. And then after that, we're talking about a Knicks head coaching vacancy. We'll be right back on Jake's Hot Takes, only on WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, I'm Mark Guido. Thank you for making Frank Guido's Little Italy the #1 location for all of your special occasions. From an intimate family gathering to a festive affair for up to 100 guests, Little Italy is the place to go. We are experienced, professional, and affordable. Whether it's birthdays, anniversaries, reunions, retirements, rehearsal dinners, and even after funeral gatherings, Little Italy has the perfect size space with delicious food at a reasonable price. You enjoy your event and let us do all the work. Call Marie at 845-340-1682 or visit us online at frankguidoslittleitaly.com. Call Marie at 845-340-1682 or visit us online at frankguidoslittleitaly.com. Little Italy has the perfect size space with delicious food at a reasonable price. You will be glad you did. And remember, as always, come celebrate on the day of your birthday and get up to a $25 value on us.
Michael's Appliances presents Ask Andy, the appliance expert. Andy, is it bad to use fabric softener sheets?
More often than not, a fabric softener sheet helps keep the static down in your dryer. Most newer dryers, the lint screen is so fine that the oils in the fabric softener sheet actually plug up your lint screen. Reduces efficiency, causes overheating, causes the machine to kick off on high limit. So sometimes what you really want to do is not use dryer sheets. Use the same dryer sheet 2 or 3 times. Fabric softener in the washer is the better way to go. Most people don't realize that all the lint in your dryer actually comes from your washing machine. It's the agitating action that causes a problem where the clothing is scrubbing together and you end up with all the little pilling. And a fabric softener actually will help lessen the pilling if it's in the washing machine.
Shop with the experts. Nobody knows appliances like Michael's Appliance Center, 585 East Main Street, Middletown. Online at michaelsappliance.com.
The power of Dell AI with Intel Inside is transforming the world of pro sports. Teams can see curveballs coming with predictive analytics. Coaches can use AI insights to help players improve their shots in real time. And fans can get more out of every winning moment with AI-enhanced replays.
Unbelievable! What a play!
See how Dell Technologies with Intel Inside can power your wins at Dell.com/win.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling Grandma for her recipe, no-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m., big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas, the ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2025 with select plans. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 7/20/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store activation of single line gold unlimited plan or higher. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
Well, it has finally happened. The Aaron Rodgers offseason of nonsense has finally come to an end as Aaron Rodgers signs a 1-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. What are my first thoughts on this? I'm sure everybody wants to know. People are clamoring at the doors right now. They're saying, Jake, what do you think of Aaron Rodgers? What is there to think? All this guy does is go through this will he, won't he nonsense every offseason and gets the media stirred up and gets the teams stirred up. And now what? I'm supposed to throw confetti in the air because Aaron Rodgers finally selected the only team that showed any interest in him? Like, we were talking about maybe the Giants. We were talking about maybe the Vikings. We were talking about, maybe all these different options. And then all these teams came out and said, no, we don't want Rodgers. Pittsburgh was like, yeah, we'll think about it. And now Pittsburgh selects Rodgers and we're supposed to throw a party? No. But I still want to talk about it because despite all of the media nonsense and despite all of the bad press that Aaron Rodgers will inherently bring to your team, I don't think it's a terrible move for Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh is a team that, do I think they need a new start at quarterback? Yes. Have they been in a complete tailspin ever since Big Ben retired? Absolutely. Will it hurt to have a veteran presence in the building? I don't think so. And Aaron Rodgers wasn't even that bad last season. He threw for 3,897 yards with the 63% completion percentage, 28 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Like, he wasn't that bad. There were definitely quarterbacks worse, like Justin Fields. He was worse. That being said, I still think that if Pittsburgh wasn't committed to drafting Shedeur, which firstly, what I thought they were going to do, I was big on the Shedeur to Pittsburgh hype train. I thought that they were going to select him in the first round. And then I thought they were going to select him in the second round. And then I thought they were going to select him in the third round. Then I thought, oh, fourth round, this is definitely when he's going to go, right? Nope. So, I mean, it makes sense. There was a lot of writing on the wall with Shedeur. And I think one of the primary issues was with Deion, of course. I was talking with a couple of my friends about this. It's like, put yourself in the mind of a head coach. Deion Sanders has just said, yeah, I'm interested in coaching my son in the NFL. If you draft Shedeur, Deion Sanders basically just said that he's coming for your job. So it makes sense why Tomlin didn't want to pursue Shedeur Sanders. But I don't know about Justin Fields, because Fields did look good in his short time starting for Pittsburgh last season, but I don't think it's necessarily a pace that he would have been able to maintain throughout the rest of the season. So that is already kind of where the issues start for me. But ultimately, I think that after they let Fields go, after Fields signs with the Jets, and after they skip out on Shedeur, you really got nothing left. So this was kind of the move that we all saw it coming into place. I saw it coming into place after Fields left. I was like, all right, they're not going to stick with Fields. They're not sticking with Mason Rudolph at starting quarterback. They're going to go and pursue Rodgers probably. And that's exactly what they did. And I want to kind of circle back to the chemistry issue that causes and highlight something really funny. Steelers safety Deshaun Elliott commented on an Instagram post a couple months ago, right when rumors were starting to circle around Aaron Rodgers, saying, leave his keister at the retirement home. And of course, keister was replaced with a far more crass and much less radio appropriate word. But yeah, so Steelers players and a lot of media reports have come out saying that Steelers players are kind of already frustrated with the media circus that Aaron Rodgers is putting their team through. So all in all, bad move out of Pittsburgh. You should have acted sooner. Was it the best move that they could have made at the time? Absolutely. Was it the right move to make in the first place? Definitely not. Moving on, we got a little New York Giants news. There was a fight at Giants non-contact OTAs. Yeah, non-contact, and the Giants are getting into team fights. This is a situation where I'm going to kind of be walking on eggshells here, because I read a few reports from a few different sources, and nobody seems to know exactly what happened. We know the gist of it. We know the final result of it, but nobody seems to know exactly what happened. So it started on pass rushing reps, and edge rusher Brian Burns got into it with tackle James Hudson, got into some pushing and shoving. That is not uncommon at OTAs. And let me clarify also, teams infighting in teams is also not uncommon at OTAs. If you follow the Kansas City Chiefs offseason, I'll take that example because I do follow the Kansas City Chiefs offseason. Travis Kelce gets into a fight like every time in summer training. So this is not something to really freak out about, but here's the situation. So Brian Burns gets into it with James Hudson. They are, pushing, shoving a little bit. Next rep, edge rusher Kayvon Thibodeau and tackle Jermaine Elemanor were, throwing some harsh words around and getting into it a little bit. And then this is where the reports differ. Some reports say that Thibodeau threw a punch at Elemanor, or that Hudson had come off the bench to try and separate Elemanor and Thibodeau. And, Thibodeau then punched. A punch was allegedly thrown. I'm not, again, people don't really seem to know exactly what happened, but, Hudson came in to break up the situation, and Burns came off the bench as well. Guys just kind of getting up in each other's faces a little bit. And, some say that Hudson grabbed Thibodeau and tried to pull him away from the situation, but the end result is the same. Brian Burns came off the sideline and tackled James Hudson to the ground, causing a brawl that had to be separated by fellow teammates and coaches. I think this is a great thing for the Giants. The Giants have not played with any passion in their organization and in their team in a pretty long time. We haven't seen any fire coming out of these guys. So seeing a situation where these guys are getting heated enough to actually come to blows, and in a situation where this kind of anger and this kind of passion is running so deep with this team, I think this is a great thing for the Giants. Would we rather the Giants just having these emotionless run-throughs where nothing happens? These guys are professional athletes. They are jacked. And, part of being an NFL player means that you're a little crazy sometimes. And that's what I love to see. These guys are getting angry. They have passion. And most of all, in the case of Burns and Thibodeau and Hudson and Eleanor, they're standing up for their teammates. And I think that's exactly what this Giants team needs. They've played like a deflated balloon for years. And now they finally show some passion. They show some gall. They show some anger. And the media is trying to spin this like it's a bad thing because it's going to harm the team chemistry. Yeah, sure. Is the chemistry between the defensive edge and is the defensive line core and the offensive line core, are they probably not going to like each other? Yeah. Does that matter? Absolutely not. All that matters is that the players on either side of the ball get along. You need your defensive players to get along with your other defensive players. You need your offensive players to get along with your other offensive players. There is no situation in which you should prioritize your defensive and offensive players getting along better than your than your same side ball guys. The inter-defense and the inter-offense relations are so much more important than the cross offense and defense. Those guys don't need to like each other. They're coworkers. You don't like all your coworkers. They don't need to like each other as long as that negative chemistry isn't affecting the guys on the same side of the ball as them. As long as the safeties and the linebackers aren't saying, hey, these edge rushers are a bunch of jerks for the way that they're treating the offensive linemen, it doesn't matter. And ultimately, I think it's a good thing that these guys are finally playing with a little passion. The Giants organization has been so flat, and I hate the way that the media frames this. They frame it like, oh, here's another dysfunctional year for the New York Giants. Here's another, we're going to blow it way out of proportion. And I just don't think that's the case. And I understand why the media frames it like that, especially the New York media. The New York media is just vicious. They'll claw into anything. They'll sink their teeth into anything. Secondly, it makes for a good headline, Oh no, a brawl opens up at Giants non-contact OTAs. Like, it makes sense that this is the framing that they're doing it with, but ultimately, I can't see this as anything other than passion finally being restored to this Giants team. It felt like a lot of the guys on the team the last couple of years just don't care, and they didn't care about playing for the Giants, and they didn't care about, they only cared about themselves and maintaining their own dignity until they could, get off their contract with the Giants and go play for another team. But it's starting to feel like there is camaraderie, and with camaraderie comes conflict. If there's camaraderie among the offensive linemen, if James Hudson feels the need to stand up and separate Thibodeau and Eleanor, and Burns feels the need to get off the sideline and defend his teammate Kayvon Thibodeau, I think that's great, because that shows that they're going to be willing to fight for their guys like that in a real game scenario. Brian Burns, now Kayvon Thibodeau knows Brian Burns has his back no matter what. Now Eleanor knows James Hudson has his back no matter what. And those bonds between those cores are stronger because of it. And ultimately, like I said, it doesn't matter if the defensive line and the offensive line don't get along. They're never playing on the same side of the field. They're never playing on the field at the same time. They're never cooperating with each other. They never need to cooperate with each other. They need to cooperate during practice to make sure they don't, beat each other's faces in. But that is the only level of cooperation that you really need out of your defensive and your offensive line. So all in all, despite the frustration, despite the emotions running high, despite the media blowing this way out of proportion, I'll say in general, this is a good thing for the New York Giants, and this is a sign of good things to come for Giants football. When we get back, we're talking about the New York Knicks head coach vacancy and a very interesting pick as to who might be the guy to fill that space. We'll be talking about it right here on Jake's Hot Takes, only on WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports. We'll be right back after this.
Michael's Appliances presents Ask Andy, the appliance expert. Andy, what makes my oven smell so bad when I self-clean?
Self-clean, my favorite weapon in the world. Self-cleaning is a brutal environment. Most people don't think about it. They hear self-clean. I'm not really sure if they're picturing scrubbing bubbles inside there, scrubbing, but what's really happening is we're heating the oven up hot enough to carbonize protein. We're going to take the food stuff that's left in your stove, and we're actually going to carbonize it. We're going to turn it to dust. So we're 700 degrees. So why does it smell bad? You're setting fire to a chicken. Today, a lot of the new stoves, because of the energy guidelines, there is no real self-clean anymore. They don't want those high temperatures. It's a huge waste of energy. It's very easy. You don't have to get on your hands and knees and your back doesn't hurt. You're not scrubbing the stove, but we use a ton of energy to clean the inside of that stove by heating it up.
Shop with the experts. Nobody knows appliances like Michael's Appliance Center, 585 East Main Street, Middletown. Online at michaelsappliance.com.
Your life relies on power all day, every day. With spring upon us, weather-related storms and power outages disrupt your home life, work life, and more. Don't be left in the dark. Call Essential Power Systems, your local Generac automatic standby power dealer, protecting your family, home, and business. Already have a Generac? Ask about maintenance, monitors, and cold weather kits before winter. Call Mike the Generator Guy for a free estimate at 845-227-0514. Online at EssentialPowersGenerators.com. Never be powerless. Get Generacted by Essential Power Systems. You've long known that Newburgh Auto Spa on Route 17K utilizes top caliber products and the latest technology to give your vehicle the proper maintenance it needs. Whether it be a computerized soft cloth car wash, detailing consisting of a comprehensive bumper-to-bumper cleaning of your entire interior and exterior, or a fuel-efficient oil change from a trained technician, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Now, Newburgh Auto Spa is a full-service automotive center. That's right, Newburgh Auto Spa now offers tires, brakes, rotors, tune-ups, alternators, and more, all with the same professionalism and quality you've become accustomed to. For a full list of automotive services offered in specials, go to NewburghAutoSpa.com. Whether you need a basic car wash, a quick oil change, or now more extensive automotive service, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean, located at 86 Route 17K and online at NewburghAutoSpa.com. Now offering a full range of automotive services. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean.
Davis Furniture in Poughkeepsie is having a floor model clearance sale, up to 70% off. That's right, Davis Furniture needs to make room for new arrivals and is having a floor model clearance sale with up to 70% off. At Davis Furniture on Route 9 in Poughkeepsie, all their furniture is American-made and chemical-free. You and your family deserve the Davis Furniture difference and a healthier life. DavisFurnitureOnline.com.
Welcome back. It is Jake's Hot Takes. It is Jake. It is Hot Takes. Let's jump right into it. So, I don't know if you guys heard, but the Knicks have a vacancy at head coach. Of course, head coach for the last 5 years, Tom Thibodeau, has been fired rather unceremoniously. And the more information comes out about the firing, the more this whole situation kind of falls apart a little bit. There were reports internally that some Knicks players would have refused to return to the team had Thibodeau continued to be the coach. No names were named in that report, but that might be something that I talk about on another show if more information comes out about that, because that is a very interesting situation, and it just goes to show that things might not have necessarily been as pretty as we all seem to think they were at the end of this previous season. But that's neither here nor there, because regardless of whether or not firing Thibodeau was the right move, he's gone and a new head coach needs to fill the role. Now, I've thrown around names like Mike Malone and Mike Budenholzer and even Jay Wright, who officially said that he is not coming out of retirement to come coach the Knicks. It was a wishful thought, but, I wasn't expecting anything big out of that one. But the Knicks seem to be very interested in Jason Kidd, the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks, in trying to poach him from Dallas to come and coach for New York. Jason Kidd, of course, brought that Dallas team to the finals last season, where they lost to the Boston Celtics in 5. Jason Kidd is a pretty good coach. And when I first heard these reports coming out, another name that was thrown around was Ime Udoka, head coach of the Houston Rockets. The Rockets came out and said, absolutely not. You're not getting Udoka from us. So that's off the table. The Mavericks, on the other hand, have not made an official statement yet. Although the process of getting even an interview with Jason Kidd would require the Mavericks' permission, the Mavericks organization's permission, which they have not confirmed or denied yet. So the Knicks I don't believe the Knicks have formally requested an interview with Jason Kidd yet. I was just checking the news around Kidd before during the commercial break. So so the Knicks have not formally requested an interview through Dallas for Jason Kidd. The Mavericks have not yet stated whether they would even allow this. But that is the situation as of right now. Internal Knicks sources say that the Knicks are interested in Jason Kidd as a coach, and they would like to pursue him and potentially poach him from the Mavericks. But of course, that depends on whether the Mavericks would be willing to even let that conversation happen. Now, do I think Jason Kidd would be the right choice for this team? I think if we can get him, yeah, why not? I mean, Kidd has a lot of chemistry with Knicks star point guard Jalen Brunson. Kidd and Brunson came onto the team around the same time, and Brunson has credited Jason Kidd in his development as a player greatly. He says that Jason Kidd is one of the biggest reasons that he is who he is today. So getting that kind of instant chemistry with your star player, I think, is something that would be really great for this team. Because as it seems right now, Thibodeau did not have a lot of chemistry with the players. There was the whole Josh Hart situation where Josh Hart was like laying into him on the sideline. There was the Mikal Bridges situation where Bridges claimed to have a private meeting about the minutes with Thibodeau, and Thibodeau said that they never had a meeting. I went over all that in the last show, but, someone's lying in that situation, and I don't think it was Mikal Bridges. And then, of course, you have obvious anger being shown by guys like Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle, guys that played under Tibbs and had since left the team. So I think a guy that is good with the players, you see the bonds that Jason Kidd managed to build with Luka before he was traded and with guys like Kyrie. Kyrie's not necessarily an easy guy to get along with. So the fact that him and Kidd did get along as well as they did, I think indicates a coach that understands his players and he understands his needs. And it makes sense. Jason Kidd, incredibly prolific player for several different teams, of course, retiring in 2013 with the New York Knicks. Kidd has a lot of ties to New York, whether it be the fact that, again, he retired from the Knicks or his connection to Brunson. I think that he would be an excellent culture piece, and I think that he would be able to handle the storm, the fierce storm that is the New York media cycle. You need a coach that doesn't get caught up in the emotions of things and can speak to the media with a clear mind. Even if they're feeling those emotions, they can't bring those emotions to the media because the media in New York will absolutely rip you apart if you show any kind of anger or sadness or disappointment or anything. You need to be able to be calm and be clear. And I think that that's something that Kidd would excel in. When it comes to the actual X's and O's, I think he's made great use of a shifty guard that can get to the basket very well. The aforementioned Kyrie Irving, I think that, he just has a way with his guards. And I think that right now, Jalen Brunson's continued development as a superstar should be a priority for the team. So if nothing else, Jason Kidd can provide an avenue for Jalen Brunson to develop into an even more lethal player than he currently is. Because, Brunson is not done developing as a player. He's not done. This is not the best we're going to see of Brunson. He is going to continue to get better. And if Jason Kidd will help expand that level that we can get Brunson to, I say that is a good enough reason to get him on the team as any other reason. Now, of course, the issue comes down to whether or not Kidd would be willing to leave Dallas. And this is another situation where I absolutely think that Kidd would be willing to leave Dallas. The Mavericks organization over the course of the last season has made some absolutely baffling moves. Namely, I'm sure you probably heard of it, the Luka Doncic trade for Anthony Davis. And that move was made without consulting Jason Kidd. And Jason Kidd said that he didn't know that this trade was happening until right before it happened. And he had no say in it. So the fact that the organization completely went over his head and sold out a player to LA who Kidd clearly had a bond with. You know, you can't deny the bond that Jason Kidd and Luka had. So for the Mavericks to go behind Kidd's back and kind of, snake out one of the guys that he had spent effort developing and building, the next Dallas superstar, it was, the path seemed set in stone. They were fresh off a finals run, and the Mavericks completely threw that away. And if it wasn't for them getting incredibly lucky on like less than 2% odds and securing the first overall pick for this year, basically securing themselves Cooper Flagg, this Mavericks team would be completely done in the water right now. They would be face down in the water with absolutely nothing happening. So, their two best players, I would say Kyrie and Anthony Davis, they're aging, they're dealing with injuries, and they're clearly not able to, handle themselves the way that their younger selves were. So now Dallas has all these pieces. The only thing they have going for them is Cooper Flagg, which realistically, is an important key piece to the factor. I'm sure that Jason Kidd would love to be involved with the development of one of the most hyped basketball prospects we've seen probably. Well, I guess, no, because Wembanyama was a more hyped prospect, but Cooper Flagg is still an incredibly hyped up prospect. People are very excited for Cooper Flagg. I'm excited for Cooper Flagg, but, the fact that Dallas sold out his guy like that and didn't consult him, I think it was the not consulting Jason Kidd that really kind of did some irreversible damage to their relationship. I mean, Nico Harrison is terrible for the Dallas organization, or good for the Dallas organization if you want to believe the casino theory, which is that Dallas is trying to move their organization to Vegas, so they're offloading all of they offload their biggest star into a big market, and Cooper Flagg will be one of the key pieces in the new developing Las Vegas Mavericks, because those owners have been wanting to get in on that casino money, but Texas has much stricter gambling laws than Las Vegas, Nevada, of course. Sorry. So all in all, the writing on the walls is absolutely there to justify Jason Kidd not wanting to be a part of this organization anymore. And a big chunk of me now hopes that that is actually the case, that Kidd is very deeply unhappy with the Mavericks organization, and the Mavericks are aware of that, and they'll allow Kidd to explore the opportunity of coaching for another team. And, for all the teams that need head coaching right now, I think probably aside from the Denver Nuggets, the New York Knicks are the most appealing team to come and coach. They're fresh off an Eastern Conference Finals run. They have a developing superstar in Brunson. They have I'd say pretty close to his completion as a developed player, superstar in Karl Anthony Towns, or star, all NBA caliber player Karl Anthony Towns. A little bit of word salad there for you, but all in all, this team is incredibly appealing to come and want to coach for. And like I said, the previous ties that Kidd has to New York, whether it be retiring as a Knick or whether it be his connections with Brunson, I think that this would be great for him. And since I got a little bit of time left, I want to talk about something that I saw on a Nick Wright post where he was talking about how it makes sense that all of a sudden the Knicks become good once James Dolan starts working on the Sphere in Las Vegas. James Dolan, the owner of the New York Knicks, has stopped for the last couple of years, has stopped making decisions as he's focused on his company building up the Las Vegas Sphere. And all of a sudden, now that the Sphere's construction has been completed, all of a sudden the Knicks are firing their head coach and, trying to make a tsunami level move for Giannis, which, there's been talk of a tsunami level move for Giannis coming. So I guess we'll just have to see what's happening there. But that is all for today. Thank you for listening to Jake's Hot Takes. Tune in next Thursday for another edition. My name has been Jake McVey. This has been Jake's Hot Takes. This has also been WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports. And thank you for listening. And I deeply care about all my viewers.
WGNY Newburgh, WJGK HD2 Newburgh Middletown, WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports.